go. You remember back in the spring, every morning birds will sing. Do you remember those special times? They'll just go on and on in the back of my mind. Do you remember the time, oh I, when we fell in love? Do you remember the time when we first met, girl? Do you remember the time, oh I, when we fell in love? We fell in love at the time. Those sweet memories will always be dear to me. And girl, no matter what was said, I will never forget what we had. Now baby, do you remember the time when we fell in love? Fell in love. Do you remember the time when we first met, girl? Do you remember the time, oh I, when we fell in love? We fell in love at the time. Remember my baby, remember the times I remember when we fell in love. You remember the time all in my mind, girl, when we fell in love. Do you remember the time, oh I, when we fell in love? We fell in love. Remember the time. Remember my baby, remember the time. Ooh, remember the time. Do you remember, girl? You remember, girl, on the phone you and me till dawn, till 3. Oh, what about us, girl? Do you in the park on the beach? You and me in Spain. What about? Ooh, in the park after dark. Do you, yeah, yeah. Ooh, remember the time. Remember the time.